Hey, welcome to Vance Tried It. Today we're going to be trying some orange creamsicle cookies. Now, the orange creamsicle is one of my favorite frozen treats. So why don't you all let me know what's your favorite frozen treat? Just let me know down in the comments. And hey, while you're down there, would you please go ahead and like and share and subscribe? You really help me out when you do that. Anyway, we're going to be making these cookies. I found this from anorganizedchaos.com, which is a pretty eclectic site. Has a lot of tips about reorganizing your home and storage and decoration, but it also has recipes. And the interesting thing is when I went and looked at this recipe, there's an article and then there's a recipe, and the article and the recipe don't exactly match up. So I had to kind of go through there and decipher what it was wanting me to do. And so I think I've done that. And so one of the interesting things is in the recipe it calls for using vegetable oil, but in the article it talks about using butter instead. Also, in the recipe it doesn't say anything about orange zest, but it talks about that in the article. So we're going to be using butter instead of oil, and we're going to be putting in some orange zest. Now, I want to show you how you can do that quite easily. So we're just going to start off like this. It takes one white cake mix. I got Betty Crocker Super Moist Cake Mix, and you can use really any brand you want. Just make sure it's kind of the standard size. I have always found, though, not always, but typically found, that you get what you pay for. So, yeah, I could have gotten great value, cheaper than Betty Crocker, but only by a few cents. And I figure, what's a few cents? If this is going to be better, why not spend a little bit more? Same thing with orange gelatin or Jello. We could have gotten best value a little bit cheaper, but I went ahead and got Jello brand gelatin. And then also we're going to put in here a 1/4 cup of butter. That's 1/2 of your standard stick of butter. And then 2 large eggs. Now the butter is softened, which means set out at room temperature for a little while. And also the eggs are at room temperature. Now you can mix this by hand if you want to, but we're going to be using our KitchenAid blender right here. And so we just put it down, lock it in place, and we're going to start off nice and slow here. And then we're just going to slowly up the speed. And one thing you're going to notice here is this ain't going to look like a cake batter. It's going to look like a cookie dough, because remember, we're making cookies. We're just going to up it, up it, up it. And then we're going to turn it off. We're going to lift it up. It's already looking like really good cookie batter or dough. And we're just going to scrape the edges a little bit. And okay, now we're going to go ahead and add at the very lowest speed here. We're going to add 1 cup. That's a 1/2 of a 12-ounce package, so that's 6 ounces of white chocolate chips. And we want this going at the low speed because we want to incorporate that in there, but we don't really want to break them all up. So we're going to just let that go, turn up just a little bit, turn it off, and we're going to pop this back up. We'll take our beater off here, and we will clean out our beater. Now, most of the mixers you're going to find, like the KitchenAid, are going to have a variety of beaters on them. And so you can see I used the thicker one here, not the wire mesh one, which is more like a whisk, because I knew this was going to be a thicker batter. If you're going to use the whisk, so you want it to be not the whisk, you want it to be this paddle, if you will, that has a lot more open space in it, just so you can clean it out nice and easy when you're done here. I'm trying to get the bulk of that off of there. So I did that. And this spatula is probably actually a little bit too wimpy for as thick as this cookie dough is. But that's all right, because we're going to get this stiffer spatula out here, and that's going to let us really get a good scrape down on the edges here. We're not worried about it a whole lot, because we're just going to be putting these onto a spoon and putting them on our pan here. But it is a very thick and sticky cookie dough, that's for sure. So we're just going to go in here and get us a tablespoon. We'll take that off of there. We're just going to move this off to the side here. And I prepared 2 baking sheets, and I like to use the air, what's it called? Air bake. And so the inside of it is filled. I think it gets a nice even cook, especially when I'm making something like cookies. Now, the drawback to these air bake pans is you cannot submerge them in water. So you have to clean them outside of the water. You can run water over them. You just don't want to submerge it because it could get some water down inside the air pan. But I'm going to go ahead and leave a link down in the description to this. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Oh, doggies. I forgot the important part right here. How could I forget this? We're going to put some orange zest in here. And I'm actually going to put a link to the air bake pans and to a micro grater / zester. But I want to show you how to zest stuff up really quick here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, I've washed this orange off and then I dried it. And the trick to zesting an orange, a lemon, whatever you're zesting, is you don't want to apply too much pressure. You just want to get a little bit of pressure, because you don't want to get down into the white of the fruit, because the white part of the fruit is going to be bitter. So you're going to get a good orange flavor actually out of this surface area. And so just let your strokes be nice and gentle. And you can see that it starts to get a lighter color. You can see on here where I have run the grater over it. It's lighter over here, darker over here. And so you just keep an eye on it. You can run it over a couple times. You're just wanting to make sure you stop when you start seeing the lighter area, so that you're not getting the bitterness, you're just getting the really intense orange flavor. That's what zesting is going to do for us. It's really going to give us a really good, intense orange flavor in here, and a natural orange flavor. You know, the Jell-O is going to be orange flavored, but let's face it, it's going to be a more artificial flavor. I like orange Jell-O, but it's not going to have quite the same flavor as this orange zest is going to give us. So that's why we're zesting this here. And that's going to do it pretty well right there. And then all you have to do is just take a little spatula here. I'll use my burnt spatula here. And just going to get in here on the bottom. And you're just going to scrape it off in here. Just like this. Get that orange zest in there. And then we're going to go ahead and put this back on the blender so we can get that blended in there really well. Of course, you can skip the step of taking it off the blender and putting it back on if you remember that you have the orange over there that you need to zest. And in fact, if I wasn't going to show you kind of how to use the zester, I would have zested the orange in advance and had that already, but I wanted to show you how to use the microplane zester, just because I know that for some people who've never used one before, it can be a little bit scary, and you can even use it improperly. I was looking at some pictures when I was trying to find a good zester to recommend to you of some people who actually had kind of scraped their knuckles. So you have to be careful, because the grates on there are sharp. I mean, they have to be sharp to get in there and take off that peel. All right, let's go again. Get this all scraped off. Okay, now we're going to take this off of here, set this off to the side one more time, and now we're going to actually put them on our baking sheet. So we just want to get, actually we're going to need 2 spoons here. So what we're going to want to do is we're just wanting to get a spoonful here, just probably about that amount, and just dollop it on there. You don't have to get them all uniform or anything, but you do want to leave a good little space, about 2 inches between the cookies. And we're hoping to get about 12 cookies out of this, and we're going to be cooking it in 2 batches on 2 different pans. We just gonna keep going here. Now, here's something exciting, folks, and something I'm just really grateful to y'all for. We have just hit our 100th subscriber. So thank y'all for subscribing and for watching these videos and commenting and liking and sharing. But in celebration of y'all getting me to 100 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away a zester. And the way you can qualify to be a part of the giveaway and have your chance at possibly getting a free zester is just leave a comment on this video. So everyone who leaves a comment in the month of June 2024 is going to get an entry into getting a zester. And so I will close it out, like I said, at the end of the month, and then randomly choose somebody who has commented on this video. And I'll get in touch with you, notify you that you won. So make sure in July you check back into this video, make sure you look through those comments and see if I notified you that you're the winner, and then you can get your address to me and I will send it out to you. So we have a dozen cookies here. I don't think we're going to get 2 dozen, but we have our first dozen here. I'm going to just put these in the oven. They're going to go in the oven for 9 minutes. So we're going to set our timer right up here. Let's see, kitchen timer, 900, and start. Yep, so that's going to be 9 minutes in the oven. While those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these cookies ready to go. This is going to be our second batch, and I'll get back to you after 9 minutes when these are ready to take out of the oven. Okay, so one just little hint here, when you're letting something cool, like these cookies, because they're going to need to cool before we start tasting them and getting them off of there and putting them on a plate. It really depends on what kind of, here, let me move these over so you can get a good look at them now the other ones are out of the way. It really depends on what kind of stove you have. So I have just the stove top here, and the vent actually is in the oven door. But if you have a more conventional stove where the vent comes out by the display in the back, that's blowing hot air out on your stuff. So if that's the situation and you want something to cool off, then go ahead and set something up where you can set them off of the stove, someplace where you're not going to scorch the countertop or anything, but somewhere off of the stove where you can let them cool off without all that hot air blowing on them. But like I said, we have the hot air blowing out right here instead of up on top, so there's no hot air blowing on these. And then we're going to let these cool off and let these cook, and then we're going to come back and give them a taste. I'll see you later. So our timer just went off. We're going to pull the last batch of these cookies out of the oven, and then we're going to give the ones that have cooled off a little bit of a taste. So let's get these out of the oven. Okay, let's just pick on this one right here. So we will break this bad boy open, see what it's like. Well, the flavor is wonderful, but I can tell you right now, 10 minutes was not long enough. It probably needs another couple minutes. I mean, the flavor's on point, but they are definitely doughy. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and stick these back in the oven and get them cooked up. They are good though. Okay, so we're actually at about 20 minutes on the cook on here, and I think that they are actually done where we would want them to be. So these are cooled off a little bit, so let's give it a try. Yeah, it feels way more cooked on the bottom. And we open this up and it looks cooked. Yeah. So they are done, but obviously it takes longer than what they said on the website. But that's all right. Now you know, that's why you're watching this video, so I can try it and help you out so you don't have to go through this. So it took about 20 minutes, but that was with taking them out, letting them cool off a little bit, putting them back in there. I would say probably you would be good at about 17, 18 minutes. But one of the ways you can tell if they're done, and let me just show you here. I'm just going to take another one of these here and show you. So when you push it in, it should come back up. If it stays in there, then you know it's pretty doughy in there and you need to cook them longer. Like I said, I think if you leave them in there for one solid stint, probably 17, 18 minutes is going to get them cooked right. But aside from the time of the cook, I will just tell you this. These are delicious cookies. Everything in here is so good. Now, there's really three basic types of cookies. You have chewy cookies. You have a hard cookie, which in England you might call a biscuit. Or you have these, which are cake biscuits. Now, obviously, the very base of this is a cake mix, so you're going to know going right off the bat, this is going to be a cake type cookie. But it is delicious. A little bit crispy on the edge, which is just what you want it, and nice and moist and soft in the middle. And it does have a taste reminiscent of that orange creamsicle, which I think is great. I think for sure the orange zest in here made a huge difference. I don't think they would be as good without that orange zest. You get that fresh orange flavor in here. And if you just cook these right 17, 18 minutes, make sure that they're done and cook these. We got about 18 out of this batch. And so I tried it. You should too.